spook easily stung.
Have you ever explored the depths of fear? Have you ever wondered what depravity dwells within the imagination of a storyteller that prompts them to exhume horrors untold and expose those horrors to unsuspecting audiences? Some are repulsed, and some are shaken. However, there are those who are invigorated. So to those demented souls, we invite you to journey inward into the dark bowels of human imagination. Press play, and you will discover what's in the podcast.
Claudia, told you not to leave your toys lying about.
Good God, you are hideous.
He took a bride, but this time, in order to become the parents of a human baby, they'll need just the right woman. Jennifer Tilly.
You know, I should have played Aaron Brockovich. I could have done it without the Wonder Bra.
This fall, Chucky's back, and he's delivering us some evil. Come to Papa.
What the hell is going on in here?
She came on to me.
No wonder her career's in trouble.
Seed of Chucky.
That's my boy.
And welcome back to another edition of What's in the Podcast, Comfort Discomfort Flicks 2024. For this edition, it was going to be a celebration of the fact that this movie is actually 20 years old now. Unfortunately, it has come at a very sad time where we just got some very, very unfortunate news that the franchise to which this movie derives from has since lost its television series, and we are not happy about that, are we?
No.
Not at all. Though
like everything good is getting canceled.
Pretty much. And though one thing at least we can happily say is that much like the focal character of this franchise, I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing it again in some form or another one time soon.
Oh, yeah.
So if you've clicked on the thumbnail, you know precisely which franchise we're talking about. We're talking about the Chucky franchise, specifically the very derided, but in my opinion, incredibly progressive fifth installment of the franchise, Seed of Chucky, which came out in 2004 and was actually the first in the series to be directed by Don Mancini. Mm-hmm. Now, normally I usually wait to do franchise entries, but because of the history of this one, and not only that, a lot of the things that this franchise talks about, and also given its history of being very unjustly attacked by people, we felt it was vitally important for us to talk about it for this edition. And not only that, we also kind of freaking like it.
I'll throw down, I think the third one's the worst one.
And
Don Mancini even agrees.
Yeah, Don Mancini even openly says the third one he's not proud of that, and it's just because...
it's not bad, it's kind of like, I feel like it's the Scream franchise, where they're all solid, it's just one is weaker than the other.
Exactly.
Chucky kind of... This one was... Because this one tonally just goes kind of for the camp craziness, that it was off-putting to all the people who liked the more minus. The thing is we all know Bride of Chucky is very funny and silly.
Yeah, it's very funny, it's gory,
but it still does keep. It's not as camp.
Yeah,
it's not as camp.
Yeah,
as Seed of Chucky, they went more camp, and I feel like camp is not as appreciated by a lot of the general audiences or general horror audiences as it probably should.
Yeah,
whereas I appreciate camp. I find if you're boring, that's when you're weaker, and I felt like the third one was the most dull. Not bad, just dull, so it was weaker than the others.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, you remember stuff, and it gets goofy at times, absolutely, but this is also a killer doll, and this is the fifth movie, and he had a baby with another doll, so just go with the goofiness, because it can't be serious at this point.
It's kind of shocking to me that people weren't surprised that it was going to go this far, considering all the wacky shit that goes down in Bride of Chucky. This just seemed like a natural progression of the franchise. I just never understood. I mean, granted, I myself kind of didn't really see it until way later. Actually, I didn't see it until like a couple of years ago because of the bad rap the movie got. I just wasn't sure what to make of it until I finally sat down and watched it, and I was going, God damn, Don Mancini was doing shit that in horror that really wasn't talked about until recently with this one. So I figured in order to really kind of get into the intricacies of that, let's go ahead and do a synopsis of Seed of Chucky.
Basically, at the end of Bride of Chucky, you see that Tiffany birthed the baby in her death. At least that's what you think it is. This is the story of what happened to that doll, and that doll's search for their parents, which is of course Tiffany and Chucky, who are brought back, and it's the whole trying to get into a human body thing so that they can actually just live lives, and shenanigans ensue.
Yeah, well, shenanigans ensue that involve actual actress Jennifer Tilly.
I love that she comes back and she rips on herself so hard.
Yeah.
And, I mean, damn, but I heard that she wanted to go harder or something, like that she was all game for it. Like, she loved making fun of herself, and it's kind of amazing how she has such a good sense of humor to really go to town on herself.
Oh yeah, it got to the point where the studios actually said, "Dial it back. You're being a little mean."
Yeah, you're being a little mean. And she's like, "No, I love this. This is fun." And
yeah, in this case, kind of poking fun, saying that she's a washed-up actress. He's like, "I'm an Oscar nominee, and I'm fucking
have to sleep with the directors to get the role." She's trashing on her weight, which I'm like. Which, I mean, if you think about it, Hollywood will call a woman overweight and fat need a diet when she's a size 4.
Yeah.
Same thing.
And even to the point, but it even kind of put those kind of pressures even, it gets to the point for her that she's hiding candy bars just so she can at least feel something for a change.
Oh, yeah, she's like on some kind of strict diet, like liquid diet, but she's like sneaking candy bars, like, not even like a ton of them, just one. She's like slowly eating over the day. I'm like, enjoy your 250 calories. You need it.
Yeah.
Have fun with that. And she's playing Tiffany too, so you get a lot of those shenanigans of the same voice. And, she has the voice of an angel.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Chucky's like, oh god, that voice.
Yeah, they're ripping on themselves a bit.
Oh yeah.
It's funny because it's camp, it's silly. And it is self-aware. It's way more self-aware than the Bride of Chucky. Like, that one was pretty self-aware. This one's like extremely self-aware.
Oh yeah, this one holds back nothing. Well, I mean, this one even kind of went the route of, apparently one of Don Mancini's early ideas was very much in the same vein as New Nightmare, the idea of a movie being made about Chucky kind of thing, and I guess Chucky haunts the set or something like that. And apparently there was going to be a climax that took place at Bates Motel or something like that, because bear in mind, Chucky is a property of Universal,
so they could do that.
Yeah, but they kind of nixed that idea, and actually the title of that movie was going to be Chucky Goes Psycho, so they did recycle little bits and bobs of that idea for this movie. But ultimately, the thing that makes this one especially unique, well, actually, let's talk about Don Mancini first and foremost. I mean, the one thing that is now should be well documented by this point is that he's probably one of the most prominent queer icons of horror.
He's up there with like Clive Barker and Frank Castle and all that.
Yeah, William Castle.
William Castle.
You mean James Whale.
James Whale.
James Whale, that's right. Now
I was thinking Castle. Why was I thinking Castle?
Yeah.
James Whale.
But the thing about Don Mancini is that he's one of the ones who is kind of, he's out with it. He just like shows it off for the world to see.
No, he's never been in that, like James Whale was having to hide behind everything. And so many queer icons had to hide who they were and put it into subtext, and Don Mancini's like, no. And you know what? Good. Like, same with Clive Barker. It's like the ability to actually just put it out there with your franchise and everything. It's just, it's the representation that we do. I mean, yes, subtlety is nice, but sometimes you just want it fucking there.
But in the end, this is a franchise where two dolls fuck by a fireside, and I
mean, why not?
Why the fuck not? At this point, why not?
You get the line. You get one of the best lines. Are you wearing a rubber?
Tiff, look at me. I'm all rubber.
Apparently, he needed to wear a rubber.
Apparently, he should have. Well,
apparently.
I guess he did. In his defense, he didn't realize that Tiffany was going to have ovaries. So
I mean, I don't know. I just think that's just funny. Like, I guess you did.
So, by extension, let's go ahead and talk about the Chucky franchise on a whole and kind of why we love it so much, really. I mean, the major thing about this one is that for a franchise involving a killer doll, Don Mancini has been able to find so many incredible avenues to take the story down.
No, I would say is the one strongest thing about it is this is the only franchise that truly had the same person behind it in every entry, including the series.
Yeah.
Don Mancini, always there, even recycling actors, like in Sea of Chucky, what's his face showed up?
Actually, yeah. Some actors who would actually wind up being regular players in the show. Michael Terrio who in season 1 of the show would play Lexi's dad. He also played the evil psychiatrist in Cult of Chucky.
But they always say that working with Don Mancini is like a family, that they have a lot of people work together and they'll work on multiple projects. Or what's his face, who's now I think was one of the producers. He was in Seed of Chucky. He has head cut off.
You're talking about Tony Gardner. Tony Gardner, special effects maestro who worked on films like Return of the Living Dead. He has a hell of a cred behind him. The one great thing about the Chucky franchise is that it's really kind of his baby now in terms of like the way he's been innovating effects. And Seed of Chucky, even though I believe he had worked under, I believe Steve Johnson or actually what was it? Oh, who did? Kevin Yeager. Yeah, he worked under Kevin Yeager on the first couple. And then he kind of took the lead on Seed. No, Poe and I didn't even know it. And to the point where he actually got to, in very much like Tom Savini in Maniac, Tony Gardner got to give head for his work too, in this case. So, but the thing that's really cool is that Tony Gardner, much like everyone else, has been carried over, so much so that his daughter, because she practically grew up with Chucky, actually made an amazing documentary, Living with Chucky, about the experience.
But that's one of the cool things, is that it's all this one family. There's people working together consistently through the franchise, and yet the franchise evolves and shifts on its own instances of tone. I wouldn't say quality so much as just like tone, focus, and they'll bring it after the third movie was kind of because it just was stagnant. They put in Tiffany Valentine and it just gave it a jolt. And then you brought in Glenn Glenda, which that got carried into the TV series. You brought in more characters and it keeps evolving. And even when they throw in stuff that's like, when was that meant? Like the medallion, the M.
The Eye of Damballa, or the Heart of Damballa.
Which came in Bride of Chucky, that didn't exist before that. Or there's always jokes about how stuff just appears out of nowhere. But you don't care. You just keep going.
Yeah.
And it's so fun because you also can't predict where it's going to go. It's slightly funny watching Seed of Chucky, where, granted, it was a movie within a movie, where Chucky's killing Santa Claus, or at least a guy dressed like Santa Claus, and then what happens in the TV show about his whole hatred of Santa Claus. And it's like, stuff carries through all the way.
Yeah, it really does. If there's anything I kind of associate the Chucky series with, it's kind of like Cobra Kai, in the sense that even the stuff that prior was always considered like the worst of, that show was able to find ways to take those things, add it into what they're doing right now, and actually make it great. And then so much so that you go back and watch what came before, and it's actually better because you now know where it is now. And I would definitely say with what they've been doing with the Chucky series, I mean, of course, with the movies that came after this and the TV series, I honestly feel Seed of Chucky is a movie that really needs more like a brand new lens of people to look at.
You wouldn't have the series or a lot of the aspects of the later movies if not for Seed of Chucky. And it does move things. It moves all the parts of the story into where it needs to be. Yeah, it's silly. You're gonna have two dolls doing Matrix kung fu at each other. Or
well, you got Tiffany flashing.
Oh, that was.
Doll tits. Woo.
Yeah. I'm not sure. You know what? That's not the most surprising thing she would do.
No. The thing that's surprising is that still's not enough to get Chucky's engine revved. He has to look at Fangoria, which I got to give it to Jennifer Tilly for having good taste in magazines. You know, the fact that that's in her bathroom. So I'm like, oh, good on you, Jennifer Tilly. Yeah, just like you got that. But the other bastion of great taste is in this movie as well. The man who I quote his famous line countless times, John Waters, has and he's one who's returned to the show recently.
And he returned later on as the man who created the Good Guy doll.
Yeah, which is freaking great.
And he gets a great.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing is the reason why he's in this movie is that Justin Whalen, who was in Serial Mom, he was the one who they cast as teenager Andy for Child's Play 3, and he actually let it be known to Don Mancini that John Waters is a massive Chucky fan, like huge. So when the time came, they practically wrote the role of Pete Peters, paparazzi, specifically for John Waters. And only John Waters could say a line like, a masturbating midget?
Yeah. That's written for him.
That's so written for him.
He's the only person that could ever say that properly.
Yeah, and his character does get one of the gnarliest deaths, in the movie.
The special effects for the kills, and they're all solid. It's actually really well done. And I will say, this is where it's done later in the series, or definitely in the first half of season 3, where they start doing goofier but more intense kills. So the kill's silly, like Looney Tunes, but realistic Looney Tunes. So it's much more gory. But it's not actually horrific. It's like you're laughing at it.
Oh, yeah.
More so than you're like, ew, that's disgusting. Sometimes it is disgusting. But you're laughing at more like when Redman gets disemboweled and his intestines are steaming for some reason. I'd love to know why. And you just see all of this just fall, all the intestines
pop out of...
But it's like, I think more intestines than a person should have. Like Machete would even be like, that's too much. But it was funny. It was funny, but it was at the same time, even when, I said Tiff, but Jennifer Tilly tells him to drop dead, and he literally just plops over. You know, silliness like that.
So if you're wondering about Redman, now the whole focus with Jennifer Tilly is that she's trying to improve her career. She finds out that Redman, of all people, is making a biblical epic about the Virgin Mary. So she's trying to get...
When did this movie come out?
This came out in 2004.
Isn't that when The Passion came out?
Actually, I wouldn't be surprised.
Didn't The Passion come out? Like, we're religious...
I think you're right.
I'm not talking like pure fix. I'm talking like actually in the movie.
Yeah, well, religious snuff films like The Passion.
But yeah, like I remember like The Nativity and by that Twilight director. And, but like serious. I'm just putting that in quotes. Serious, like biblical. Like suddenly that was a thing for a little while, and I'm just like, I don't know if it was the same time frame, but like I remember that being a thing for a little bit, and then it just petered out.
Now. Having it be Redman is interesting, and Lord knows there's a part of me actually kind of sad that movie didn't come to fruition, because I'm sorry, Redman's Virgin Mary story.
That might be worth watching.
That would be totally worth watching.
Because Mary's got to look hot.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be entertaining. Who knows?
And apparently originally was going to star Julia Roberts, which...
Yeah, there's a lot of jabs at Julia Roberts is like taking all the roles and she didn't earn them. But, or there's rumors that she didn't earn them, but... It's like known that those are rumors. Yeah, exactly.
But here's the fun. No, speaking of rumors, now I think this was substantiated, but originally they had planned for the role of this director to be Quentin Tarantino. Like they were gonna.
I really wish it had been, because no offense to Redman, he did a good job. But it would have been really funny.
Well, Quentin Tarantino, bless him, this is the kind of movie you do. I think they did come to. I think it was just a simple case of scheduling conflict.
2004. I mean, he was doing
Kill Bill. I think he might have been.
He might have been a little busy.
Yeah, he might have been really busy with Kill Bill at the time. And so he could not come in to do it. But Lord knows this movie would have been perfectly right up his alley. Actually, one thing that's always cool, whenever anyone, especially like big celebs, come to do movies like this, a lot of times it's because they love the movie or they love the franchise or something like that, and they just want to come in and do it. And I believe I saw an interview, Redman was just stoked the idea that, dude, I get to be killed by Chucky. I mean, that's just really cool.
Cronenberg, he was like, I'll be in Jason X if I get to be killed by Jason. Like, sometimes it's like, I get to be killed by a horror icon. That's kind of awesome.
I mean, there was that one actress in Halloween Kills, the one who gets the gun fired back in her face. By Jason. When Michael Myers, knocks the door, knocks the gun back, and everyone's like, "Oh, we're so sorry." It's like, no, don't. I get to be killed by Michael Myers. That's the coolest thing in the world.
I still laugh at how people are like, "Oh, Darcy, you got killed by Michael." And I'm like, about that. I still wish they had left that scene in, though.
I kind of, just for
I'm like, come on, just let us see the kill.
Oh yeah. Now the other thing that's really unique about Seed of Chucky versus any of the other ones is that it's all about Chucky and Tiffany this time. They are the stars of this movie, whereas previously we're always following like a hero character of some sort. I mean, the first...
A human.
Yeah, a human of some sort. The first three, of course, we're following Andy Barclay. The fourth one, easily the most boring...
That couple that... I still wanted to get some payoff that like they broke up or something down the line. Something just... they were so bad.
Apparently in early drafts of the script for Chucky Goes Psycho, apparently Chucky did catch up to him and kill him.
I don't want them dead. I just want them. They're a little. Oh, we got to run off together. We're barely we're barely 18, and like have it just not work out.
Yeah, just have it
because
totally.
The reality is it just would not work out. They were really wasting all their energy on a stupid fling.
I could have $1,000. We can start.
We can start a new life. I'm like, okay, not even in 1997.
1999.
1999. That still wouldn't get you anywhere.
Or 97.
Nowadays, it gets you some Starbucks.
Yeah,
And
probably.
take a gas.
Probably. Yeah, something like that.
But
this,
I did want that payoff. I just wanted to hear that things didn't work out for them.
but now this one is entirely about Chucky and Tiffany as they are trying to come to terms with the fact that they have a kid, but not just a kid, a gender fluid kid. But this is the move. But let's go ahead and have the conversation about, or as we now know them, Gigi.
Can we just say Gigi, because saying Glenda is really obnoxious. Just a pain in the
Yeah,
butt.
originally Chucky named them Glenn and Tiffany named them Glenda. Well, now
what happens is when the Gigi shows up, they don't know if Gigi's a boy or girl, like, because you're a doll, you have nothing there, so they can't argue with that. And they ask Gigi, and Gigi's just chill, like, so Chucky wants a boy and Tiffany wants a girl. So they named their child Glenda, which we all know is a reference to
Ed Wood
and Glenda, which that was more about just enjoying women's clothes, not really
about being trans, but
that actually being about trans.
it was a very ill-advised film, but it was one of the earliest films to start a conversation.
Yeah, it did start the conversation. It just was really it was
cringe.
It was pretty cringe, but also like the knowledge was not there.
Yeah.
But yeah, throughout the movie, I mean, Chucky, as much as he's like, you're my son, he's more about, you're my killing son. Like, I want you to be a killer. Tiffany is more not wanting, she wants to give up killing. She wants to
quit cold turkey. She wants to be a better example for her kid.
Yeah, and she's more supporting Glenda. So they're kind of both like basically Gigi is getting kind of pulled in two directions.
Yeah.
Not only for the killing aspect, because that's really just stressing them out, but also Dad's constantly calling me a guy, and then my mom's doing the opposite. Just literally breaks down. So it's like, you're tearing me apart. I kind of feel like, why do I have to pick? Why do I have to pick? Can I be one or the, back and forth or whatever? And they really don't even know how to respond. Like, that's an option. They don't even know.
They don't even fathom the idea that that's an option.
I mean, I'll be honest. My knowledge, that wasn't really the idea of gender fluidity or non-binary or just not being man-woman was not a conversation. Not to say it didn't exist. It did, but the conversation was not there. People were not talking about it. They talk about it now. It's been 20 freaking years, and people are willing to talk about it now. But back then, nobody was. So the idea was like, wait, what's it?
Yeah.
It started an interesting conversation. Granted, in the film, to give Gigi a human body, ends up basically splitting the soul into two twins.
Yeah.
A boy. They look alike, but they're fraternal twins, I guess.
Yeah.
Was it a boy and a girl?
Yeah. One of the things they're trying to do, like originally in the course of the movie, Chucky and Tiffany are trying to, as usual, the same old thing, get human bodies. And Tiff, of course, is stoked because she gets to be Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah, she wants Jennifer Tilly's body. No, obviously.
Well, but of course they also want to get bodies for Gigi, and so they artificially inseminate Tiffany in a pretty with a turkey baster. Turkey baster.
Was it deep breath? The first movie to do it.
Don't breathe. Yeah, don't breathe.
Don't breathe.
Was the first that was the film to make it even more disgusting.
No, that made it. Yeah.
Yeah, when there's a shot of it filling up and there's a pube in there, it's like, nah. Give me Chucky jacking it in.
I give credit. Chucky's probably got no actual hair getting in there.
Yeah, no. Chucky's Chucky is dolphin smooth, right there. So
I don't want to.
I'm going to hell.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I mean, I am. But the cool thing about the course this takes, with Chucky, like trying to get Gigi to be a good killer, I think the coolest thing about this movie, and Don Mancini openly said this was his intention, at the end of this movie, Chucky finally just says, you know what, fuck it, I'm tired of trying to be something I'm not, trying to be something that everyone expects me to be. I am more prolific, I am better like this, I am happy like this.
He's actually learned to be happy as a doll.
Yeah, because look at me, movies are being made about me. He's
actually succeeding more as a doll than he did as
the Lakeshore Strangler. So it's like,
whereas Tiffany's like, I want to be Jennifer Tilly. Shut up.
Yeah, well, and that's it's a fun conflict. I mean, you got Tiffany who very clearly isn't happy with being her, so she thinks her solution is to be someone else.
Well, I mean, she also wasn't having the time. She didn't have as much time frame that Chucky had to be in the human or his doll body and kind of give more time to cook. And actually, she didn't become famous. He did.
Yeah.
She's not famous. Like, she did have her life that she was enjoying taken away from her by Chucky, and not given as much of it. Ironically, in the show, she eventually does return back to being a doll because she realized it takes her that same time that Chucky had ahead of time to want to become a doll again.
It's just a longer road, and let's face it, Tiffany kind of fucked that life up.
Yeah,
bad.
she also fucked up her life enough that it's like, this is the better option.
It really, well, it's the only, inevitably becomes the only option.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, that is also true.
But for Gigi, however, Glenn and Glenda, the twins, their story, I mean, yeah, you could say it's your standard issue. Okay, well, the child's a boy and a girl. Now you split it, put them into the boy and girl. But I do appreciate, like, you can say, okay, that's the way to solve that. I do like that later on in the TV series, it actually kind of follows the idea of you think that's what you are or what you want, but you evolve to realize what you truly are. Because Glenn and Glenda grow, what, to 20 years? They're about 20 years old.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm selling in the ballpark of like 20. They're
18
college
to 20.
age. Next time we see them, they're college age.
Yeah, and they're always realizing something's off. That
they don't. Neither of them feel whole.
Yeah, they feel like half a person, and circumstances happen where they end up having their soul combined back and put into another doll that's very much like their body. Or I think it was the original doll.
No, it was the original. They saved the original.
Yeah, and they named themselves Gigi, and they them. They're non-binary, but like they're happy.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes, especially for queer folk, you don't, just because you start at one point doesn't mean that's where you'll end up. You do figure things out, whether it's your gender, your sexuality, like, oh, maybe this is not feeling right, this is it, and you can kind of figure yourself out over the course of time at your own leisure. It's your life. And I kind of like that Gigi gets that. Like, they're really struggling with who they are. Also, are they a killer or not? Because their parents are killers. Yeah.
And you do see at the end of Seed of Chucky that one side of Gigi is a killer. Like, it has no problem with it. And in fact, that actually does carry over into the series. Yeah. But then you kind of see that, yeah, even the Glenn side has a little bit of a killer in them. But
they have more of a aversion to it. They also kind of feel guilt. Which Tiffany doesn't really feel guilt.
No.
And there's no guilt. Flew the cuckoo's nest with Chucky long time ago, like when he was a child. So
yeah, though, I mean, to me this movie is like a pivotal turning point for all the characters, like everyone involved. I think the other great thing about Chucky in this one, and I think it was another reason why I love this, is that because Chucky is able to finally understand who he is, I actually kind of feel that that's why he becomes so much more accepting of Gigi later on, because one of the most famous lines in the TV series is when Chucky confesses to Jake that he has a kid. He's like, you have a kid? He goes, Jen, the fluid.
Oh, yeah. He's like, I have a queer kid. And he's like, you do? He's like, yeah, gender fluid, which is, I thought was amazing. He actually knew that terminology.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're okay with that? Jake, I'm not a monster. And the thing is, he was antagonistic because of this whole idea. Because, yeah, he was antagonistic 20 years earlier when they could not figure out, and even Glenda didn't know what they were. He was antagonistic, but he was more focused on, are you a killer or not? Like, that's what I care about.
Yeah.
I mean, he made comments and stuff, but never anything that said that I think if his child was a killer, he didn't care what was going on.
I like that last moment in the movie when Glenn, or when Gigi kills Chucky at the end, and Chucky just is not pissed about it.
No, he's very proud.
He says, I am so proud of you, and immediately
his priorities were like, are you a killer or not so much about the fluidity of their gender. Like he would take it or leave it. He didn't really care. But that's always been Chucky. Like Chucky, he'll make mean comments, but it's more just to spite somebody or upset them, not necessarily. He seems like that's not something he actually believes in. Like he said nasty things to Jake at times, making jabs at him, but it's because he didn't like Jake.
Yeah, it's just for natural.
He just wanted to piss him off.
Exactly.
Like, it's not necessarily a personal thing, and I mean, he was not the nicest father to Gigi when they were two people, but still was mildly proud of them too when they would actually kill.
Yeah, it's that idea that Chucky has a legacy and has a kid that he can proudly say is like, that's my kid, and you know what, I love them because they make me proud. I like
them is probably what
I like that. No, I think Chucky deep, even in the series, I've always gotten the vibe that Chucky does love, and even at the end of the movie, Gigi has an epilogue where they say, you know, I know that we had our differences, but I'm always happy to know that my dad loves me.
In his own way.
Yeah, in his fucked up, demented way.
The rules are very unusual for him. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, that definitely is. It's kind of wacky, but the idea of Chucky, Tiffany, Gigi, they are truly a slasher icons in really their own right because they're the only ones that have this unique family dynamic. I mean, sure, Leatherface and the Sawyers have their family dynamic, but nothing like this where all of them actually... And it's funny that they actually take the time to have this conversation. And I love the fact that Don Mancini, who reportedly... A lot of the story is almost semi-autobiographical, where he was chronicling a time when he had to come out to his family and how they reacted to it. And a lot of this movie is about, you know, the child coming to terms with their gender identity and how the parents react to it and how they come to terms with it. And the fact that in the midst of this, we still get John Waters marveling over a masturbating midget and Redman getting disemboweled, and even Hannah Spirit from Agent Cody Banks getting torched, you know, so it's...
That was still one of the kills that I was like, well, that came out, like, this character, you think she's going to matter?
You think she's going to be the final girl?
Her off,
yeah. I mean, Hannah Spirit's great. I mean, we love her in Primeval.
Yeah, no, she was good.
But, yeah, you think she's prime horror heroine material.
You think that she's going to be... Because the thing is, again, you're following the villains the whole time, so you think there's going to be the good guy. And the thing is, the movie has no... I mean, technically, Gigi's the hero of the movie.
Yeah.
But you don't expect it to... You think she'll be the human hero, and it's like, no. That's not this movie.
Yeah.
Which is... I think it's one of the only ones where the main characters are the puppets, or...
Yeah.
The dolls.
Where they really just get a chance... And really get a chance to show where the franchise has been is now with the technology. That's the other cool thing about the Chucky franchise on the whole. It has really been kind of inspiring to see how the technology has evolved considerably since then. Right now in the series, they're doing stuff that's actually considerably less like more budget conscientious, but ironically is even better. But Seed of Chucky, again, much like everything else in terms of where the franchise went from here, I also feel this was a cornerstone in just the way the puppetry is done. I think it's the best looking of everything that led up prior to it. And I suppose another great thing to talk about is Chucky and Tiffany in general. I mean, because after Bride of Chucky came out, yeah, the franchise just immediately took a turn that made Chucky even a bigger icon, but Tiffany was a massive hit.
Well, yeah.
Like almost immediately, but to the point where it's very seldom I see a Chucky cosplayer and not have a Tiffany with them.
Oh no, Tiffany was like an icon the second she showed up, and I would say she made Chucky better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he became more entertaining when she came on.
So, if you had to associate Chucky and Tiffany with any other popular like TV couple, who would you associate them with?
The Bundys.
Yeah, that's exactly the couple I had in my head.
Like, if the Bundys were serial killers...
What's her saying they're not? I mean, they've done some illegal ass shit on that show.
I mean, I'm not saying they hadn't, but like Peggy wouldn't. No, she would not even. She'd get like her stuff dirty, and she'd be offended by that. and Al's just too. He'd just be like, "Oh, Peg, I don't wanna."
Or was it sex again? Peg, we've been married for 16 years. Can't we just be friends?
Yeah, no, I would say the Bundys.
I think the weird thing about the Bundys is that they take pot shots at each other and they give each other shit.
Oh, they're toxic as fuck to each other.
But
then there's those moments where they bind together, and you're always kind of happy when they take out somebody else.
And you come to the realization they really are kind of made for each other. It's like that wonderful antagonistic relationship where they both evenly give each other shit.
They're meant to be together. Like these two, they're meant to be together. And I feel like Chucky and Tiffany are... That was actually one funny thing was, I I think it was during Valentine's Day, and it was only one time I went to Walmart, and they had a Tiffany Chucky section. I just was like...
I love it.
I mean, I was all for it, but I was like, this dude... Okay.
It's like for all the people who are very dim-wittedly idealizing the relationship between Joker and Harley, it's like, no. Well, we have to see this new movie to find out what kind of relationship that is.
Oh, no, it's pissing everybody off.
Yeah, so...
that tells me it might be entertaining.
I kind of want to see what's pissing everybody.
People, you've offended the fans. I'm like, now I...
I want to see this now.
I
gotta see this. But point being is, like, Joker and Harley... so many people idealize that relationship, and it's like, no, that's a very toxic, horrible, abusive relationship.
Yeah.
No, if there's any kind of psychotic couple you want to emulate, it's especially like in a realistic way, it's Chucky and Tiffany, because they, God knows how many times they've killed each other, but yet,
they dish it out to each other all the time, but then
just things.
She's as vicious as he is at times, and it's just fascinating also how opposite yet similar they are.
Mm-hmm. And in the end, they realize they really do support each other in the long run, especially when they have time to reflect on everything. And they I'm sorry we keep veering away talking about other aspects of the franchise, but a
lot of this started with
Seed of Chucky, and
which makes it more entertaining.
Yeah, in this last season, there's this amazing moment where Chucky and Tiffany are on the phone with each other, where they're both seemingly at the end of everything, where they finally think about each other and realizing we really are we always were perfect for each other even when we weren't, and that's fascinating.
They self-realized themselves, like they actually realized their situation, which is a little bit more than a lot of people do.
Yeah, and just sometimes realizing that the picturesque idea of what a great relationship is may not be what society proclaims as a healthy.
What is I don't want to say perfect. I don't think there is a perfect one, but what would be considered a healthy relationship? I mean, if they're balancing each other, would that not be considered healthy? Even though they're toxic to each other, they're toxic equally parts. Mm-hmm. Nobody is below the other. They're both horrible people, but they're like horrible for there have been real life cases, and I could say, yeah, both of them were horrible. They both were nasty as fuck to each other. Would I say it's a healthy relationship? I mean, if in the end people are being hurt and they're miserable, no. But I never noticed that Tiffany and Chucky, as much as they might get frustrated, they never seem miserable with each other.
Yeah, and actually I kind of noticed the times whenever there's any kind of times where they attack each other, it's always when they're trying to break away from each other.
Yeah, or there's some abnormal circumstances.
Yeah, because Chucky freaks out in Seed of Chucky when Tiffany is like, I want to be Jennifer Tilly. She's changing.
She's changing. She wants to be a human being and change things, also stop killing, and that freaks him out. So, I mean, that's also a relationship when someone wants to change who they are, or what they're doing, or how they live, which is the stuff that maybe you were attracted to or connected on. That can make you upset. That can throw you off. Granted, these two are also killers, so them attacking each other is pretty much part of the game.
Yeah, but it also leads to the idea, again, a lot between the two of them, it is about being honest with yourself and your true nature of who you are. Yeah. Chucky has the revelation, he's like, of what he is finally come to terms with what he is.
I mean, he's always known himself to be... No, he always knew who he was. He didn't know what he wanted.
Yeah.
He's a killer. He wants to murder. He's loving that. But he didn't know what he wanted.
Yeah.
He thought he wanted to get back in a human body and just keep doing the same thing. But then he realized what he really wanted was infamy and being famous, which he has now attained as a doll. And he's like, I got it. I got what I wanted.
Yeah, whereas Tiffany wants to basically live alive for all intents and purposes. She wants to live under the guise of Jennifer Tilly, and
she wants the glam. She wants all the trim. She's always been that way, though.
Yeah.
She's always wanted the diamonds and all the fashion and all that, and she can get it through Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah, but in the end, you see moments where, in her efforts to try to do that, she always winds up slipping. Like, of course, she kills Redman. She's sloppy as fuck. Yeah, she just keeps slipping back into the person that she is.
I'll give credit to Chucky. He's not sloppy.
Yeah, he killed 3 people in very spectacular ways.
And got him into a closet.
And got him into a closet, and we never saw that. We have no idea
He's
how
not
that
sloppy.
happened.
He's not sloppy. It's just if the person hunting him or fighting, like Andy was smart. I mean, freaking is a tiny kid. He's smart as hell.
Yeah.
So that was hard for Chucky to deal with. But like, if Chucky doesn't have anyone smart to fight him, he can do anything he fucking wants.
Yeah, it's just fascinating that this movie focused entirely on being a domestic drama.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah, and even Don Mancini just said, that's what this is. We're doing a domestic drama.
I would say a dramedy.
Yeah.
I would say a dramedy.
Yeah, because I'm going to say there's one moment in this film that actually does get me misty-eyed every time I see it, is after Gigi torches Joan, Hannah Spirit, there's a moment where they look in the mirror and they actually start crying, going, "What am I?"
Yeah, because, I mean, they just murdered somebody. And they're done up to be Glenda, because oftentimes it is a thing where you're trying to figure out who you are, what you are, and you do makeup, you do outfits, whatever. And they see themselves after they just murdered somebody, and they're just trying to figure out, like, what the fuck is going on. What am I? Am I a killer? Am I not? Am I a girl? Am I a boy? And poor Gigi's got a lot of stress.
Oh, loads of stress.
Like, too much stress
Yeah.
put on this poor child doll. And parents aren't helping.
No,
because they're also having their shit where they're like, Chucky's like, I don't want to not kill. I gotta kill. It's my thing. And Tiffany's like, but I want to be Jennifer Tilly. Oh, and I killed someone too. My bad.
Yeah, and I want a boy. I want a girl. And
and it's just a lot of I want. And Gigi's sitting there just trying to, not even what they want, but can I just have a minute of peace?
Yeah, and at the beginning of this movie, Gigi's all hopeful, like
yeah.
they see that, oh my God, I'm not alone. My parents are out there, and I know where to find them. And it starts off great, but almost immediately right out of the gate, Chucky and Tiffany behead Tony Gardner, and
yeah,
and with hope. And I love that with hope, Gigi is hoping that they're just ninja assassins since their hand says made in Japan. And
yeah, I never got what that had to, I'm like, I guess the dolls are made in Japan.
I guess the parts are made in Japan, which is a lie.
Then yet Gigi knew Japanese really well. For some reason.
They probably spent a lot of time studying.
I guess maybe they saw that and they were like, I gotta learn Japanese because I'm from Japan, apparently.
Yeah, and oh man, poor Gigi. Gigi, I'm gonna say this all loud. Gigi needs to be protected at all costs.
It looks like Gigi's doing good now.
Yeah, Gigi seems to be.
They get later on. They do reference where Gigi is, and they're doing a good time. They're having a good time, and they're happy, and they finally do get what they want.
Yeah.
And need. So.
And they're just so damn sweet. And
they are.
It also helps, and for those who do not know, Gigi is voiced by Billy Boyd, who is a fool of a toque, Peregrine Pippin from the Lord of the Rings movies. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty blatantly clear. And actually, this is hazy because it was my second convention ever. I met Brad Dourif at MegaCon back in 2003. Mm. And I think I recall, because I had heard that Billy Boyd was going to be in it, and I think I had inquired if it was because they had worked together in Lord of the Rings. So I wouldn't be. So I'm pretty sure that was the case. Because both of them worked on those movies for a hell of a long time. I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I will say I did recently for DragonCon. Finally, did get to meet Billy Boyd and praised him for just the amazing work they did on this movie. And I suppose the good thing to just wrap the whole thing up is the fact that this movie came out 20 years ago. Yeah. Don Mancini was going full bore, and here's the other cool thing. Well, cool starting from a sucky thing. Universal, he pitched the script to Universal. Universal did not want to do it. They said it was too weird. It was too, especially a lot of the themes that the movie was tackling was just way too outrageous for them. Well, they ended up, so the producer who did read the script, who just loves the franchise, was like, no, we do this. They actually dusted off their production company, Rogue Pictures, specifically so that way they could produce this movie. So that way Universal could have deniability, it would be under a different label. But the best part of it was that Don Mancini was able to tell the story with absolutely no interference whatsoever.
See, sometimes I love movies when the director is free to just do what you want. That's how you get your Gremlins 2.
Yeah.
That's how you get Sea of Chucky. Like, just let them go and do what they want. Whether you like it or not is irrelevant. Mm-hmm. Like, you're getting to see the actual vision and not a watered down one, not one controlled by studio heads who are like, hey, I don't get this. And I'm like, dude, you wouldn't watch this movie anyway. Shut the fuck up. Like, I swear to God, like, studio heads, I do not know how they get those jobs, because I'm like, you all don't know anything at all.
And it's always interesting how the ones that actually do seem to get it always end up losing their jobs, like, almost immediately.
It's like they're already kicked out. They'll be kicked out instantly the second anything goes up, and even it has nothing to do with them.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous.
I just never understand how that even happens. Like, how are you in charge when you don't know jack shit? And the thing is, there's like a history of, you fucked this up, but then they still get, because they did one good movie once they produced, they get to produce them all, even when there's like 10 movies they fucked up, clearly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just, and that's the thing, Don Mancini, I love the fact that he has always, whenever it came to Chucky, always found a way to get the movie made. And yeah, sometimes he's had to take pay cuts in terms of like the budget. I mean, Curse and Cult notoriously had much lower budgets, but
they still made amazing movies.
They're still, actually, I would say they're some of the best looking movies in the franchise. But he has never had to. I find it funny. The only time he's ever had to compromise his vision was the first movie, and a lot of that was because at the time he was a young screenwriter. I will say the first early drafts of Child's Play, which at the time was called Blood Buddies, it was a drastically different movie, and even though it did lead to kind of an antagonistic rift between him and director Tom Holland did throw in a lot of the elements which Don Mancini, being the sporting kind of guy he is, said, I don't like it, but we're just going to run with it. Like, it was Tom Holland who actually threw in the whole voodoo angle. And it was him who kind of threw, he threw in a lot of stuff that Don Mancini was like, this is all ridiculous. Actually, like, for example, the whole thing with Chucky with the voodoo doll where he breaks John's...
but you look back now and it like makes sense.
Well, kind of. Well, Don Mancini was like, well, wait, that doesn't make sense, because why doesn't Chucky just use that on everybody?
Well, you have to make the doll, and you have to have it like have parts of the person. Even Tiffany uses them later, and it's like a lot of work. Or Dabal might just not be paying attention.
But the beautiful thing about Don Mancini is that he owns it afterwards. He just rides with it and actually makes some great jokes out of it, especially like in Bride of Chucky when she's resurrecting Chucky, she's using voodoo for dummies.
Oh yeah, that's an ongoing joke.
Yeah,
afterwards.
And precisely, and
also in the series when they do a flashback, you see him, Chucky Charles reading a book that looks like simple, like how-to steps to
voodoo for beginners or
something like that. It's like. Just little things that are like, oh, come on, let's just have some fun.
Exactly. I think Don Mancini, I think he's even come forward and just said, anyone who's smart is going to know that this is not serious voodoo. Like, this is not the kind of...
It's not accurate to any concept whatsoever. I mean, they literally have Chucky at one point talk to Damballa.
Yeah, who I'm pretty sure is not a real voodoo deity.
I don't think so. But it's tongue-in-cheek. It's being silly about it. It's not... historically accurate.
Yeah.
But you were talking about a guy who puts himself into a doll. Just go with it. Precisely.
I mean, this is a franchise that, because it has maintained its creator throughout the entire thing, even if they take deviations, it's all in for the sake of the creator saying, let's try it this way and see how it goes. Doesn't work? Okay, we'll do a detour to go that way.
I will say they don't do anything like Friday the 13th or Halloween have done, which is they go in a direction and then they panic and just go this way.
Yeah.
If they feel like something's not working, they'll still keep it within line. They'll just pick a smoother avenue, but they might loop back to it.
Yeah.
I mean, every movie's represented in the series in some capacity, even the weakest links. But there's never a hard pivot of, okay, yeah, the next film is definitely back to the horror roots, but it's still a sequel. It's not erasing anything or rebooting. It's the same freaking franchise.
Yeah.
Everything that happened did happen. It's just the tone shifts a bit, but it loops back in to having some fun and some camp later on.
Exactly. The only time the franchise ever had a kind of real hiccup was when MGM made that 2019 remake.
We don't count that.
Yeah, no, and that's a great thing. The fans discount that completely, though I got to give it to them, and why I will say I do love the fans of Chucky. They still acknowledge it's a well-made movie, and I will say I've seen it. It's a well-made movie. I just think it would have been better as a Chopping Mall remake.
Yeah.
It
or
might
just its own, I don't know, original idea.
Well,
because it is an original idea. It is not Chucky by any means.
Yeah.
It's an original, like y'all say, oh,
it's a cool setup.
It's an original story.
It was a cool setup, but
painted it with child's play because he's recognizable. And the movie failed. Because the thing is you have a franchise already that's still going, and you had the icon, the character. You can't just take the face of that character, put it on a completely original one, and say, okay, we're gonna call it Child's Play. Like,
yeah,
like no, you can't put Freddy Krueger on a new killer and say, hey, it's Nightmare.
Yeah, you really can't.
But the character is not Dream Demon. It's not. His name's not Freddy Krueger. You know, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Again, studio heads. They fucking did that because they probably were too scared to just make a movie about, you know, call it something else. Obviously not Child's Play.
Call it Megan. Yeah.
They later made Megan.
They
look
made
at that.
yeah,
Funny.
Exactly. And the thing, oh god, man, the one thing I will say, the amount of piss that has been taken between Chucky and Megan is so fucking funny.
Best thing. They are throwing so much shade at each other.
And I'm talking on Twitter, man. Twitter, Chucky.
In the show too.
In the show,
even in the show, Chucky throws some hate at Megan.
Oh yeah. He was like, "Bitch stole my moves."
Yeah, like, but that's just so much fun.
But that's
why we love Sea of Chucky. That's why we love Chucky in general. It's
that's
fun. Yeah,
it's just in the spirit of good fun, and I love the fact that Don Mancini has completely. Still is a staunch defender of this movie, and I love the fact that he is so unrelenting in his love of what he did with this movie, that he has carried on with what he's done afterwards with it, and the fact that he doesn't ignore it. Hell, he doesn't even ignore the third one either. He actually still
he has references to it.
So yeah, you're never going to get us to ever talk about it. And in fact, actually, I may say I love it even more than I did when I initially saw it, and I was actually more impressed than I thought I'd be when I finally did sit down and watch it, because of the stuff that this movie did way before anyone else did, and no one appreciated it at the time. So, yeah, I guess I think we've said everything. Yeah, I think we're good on that. So, as customary, top kill.
Acid in the face.
Acid in the face?
Acid in the face, not ass to the face. Acid to the face.
It's John Waters. It works either way.
He'd be fine with either.
He'd be fine.
Acid.
Oh no, picture John Waters if he heard me say that. He just like, if it's on the menu.
That's probably exactly what he would say.
Probably exactly what he'd say. Yeah, that is a good one. It's now going to be a tradition with special effects artists. I'm just going to go ahead with Tony Gardner's head, giving head again. I kind of think it just should happen now that anytime the special effects artist works in a movie, they should just do that. Actually, Greg Nicotero did it in Day of the Dead.
Yep.
He did it as well. He gave head for the business. Mm-hmm. So go. Yeah, how many give head jokes we're gonna do? I don't know, but it's applicable. So that's mine.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that is Seed of Chucky. And at the end of it all, our regular movie recommendations. I did go see the latest with Samara Weaving, Azrael. It is a Shudder exclusive. It is you could call it Quiet Place chic, because it's another one where it's completely silent, where no one's allowed to speak. But this one's a post-rapture biblical apocalypse, which, all things considered, you don't really see too many of those. Not really too much. But this one actually does something pretty fascinating. But the fact they actually are able to convey the ideas without any kind of dialogue, and actually you're able to get the story. And it's also unrelenting. It does not let up. And the only times you're allowed to breathe are the same time that Samara Weaving's character is allowed to breathe, which is kind of a cool audience character connection right there. But that one was really cool. I actually really dug it. Once I'm done here, I'm going to sit down and watch VHS Beyond, and I'll give my take on that later on. But it's going to be tricky because I've got some other things to cover. Terrifier 3 is coming out next week, and of course it's Spooky Empire time, so expect some coverage on that. So nothing else? Anything else you want to add?
I got nothing.
Nothing?
No, I got nothing.
Okay. All right. Well, in that case, if you wish to delve deep into the dark bowels of human imagination, ask yourself the simple question: what's in the podcast? Thank you for joining us on this edition of What's in the Podcast. If you find yourself hungry for more deep cuts into the gloriously morbid and macabre, you can also find us on TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube at Narcotic Casserole. You can also follow us on Instagram at Narcotic Casserole 25. Also on Twitter. Yes, Twitter. Elon can suck it. At Narcotic Casser 1. NARCOTICCASSER1. Follow us if you dare.